Alright, let's do Doc Ock. I was working on the No Way Home wave for a bit, and took a break to work on some Spider-Verse figures. Like last week, I worked on the spot and it turned out pretty cool. Check that video out if you haven't already. And now it's time to work on the No Way Home deluxe figures, starting with Dr. Octopus. My first impression of this figure is that the tentacles are stiff, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Let's deconstruct this figure. There's an FAQ on the paint and brushes I use in the description box below. Overall, this figure is pretty screen accurate. They captured Alfred Molina's likeness very well. Now obviously, the selling point of this figure are his tentacles. And to Hasbro's credit, the tentacles are very well made. Look at all the sculpted details. I love the paintwork they did on the claws. I believe it's done with the print tech, and the effect looks quite realistic. But they only did it to the front side of the claws, but nothing on the tentacles. That said, it is pretty impressive that Doc Ock can hold himself up in the air without a stand. But that's also where my concern comes in. I plan on painting over the tentacles to add the missing details, but I'm worried that I'm gonna rub the paint off when I bend them. They're so stiff, but I'll never know until I try. So... Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. Whether it's repainting my figures or making diorama displays, I love making things look awesome. My goal is to elevate my figures so they can shine on my display. Join my DIY venture as I ask myself the same question every week. Can I make it? Let's start with the coat. This is a very minor issue, but the sleeves are slightly more glossy than the coat itself, so let's fix that. Let me try and mix myself the same shade of green. I don't want the coat to be too vibrant, otherwise it will look too cartoonish. So I'm gonna add a bit of brown to make the green duller. Alright, let's see. I think I got a pretty close match. Nice. Oh, it's actually a touch more vibrant. But it's okay, I can fix that in a bit. Let me quickly go over the rest of the coat. Alright, now that there's a base layer of paint on the coat, let me add some shading with the brown. I'm gonna add it to the creases and folds to emphasize the details. I like how natural it looks. Let me continue on. I can stop here, but I want the shading to be a bit more dramatic. So let me wet my brush and go over the creases and folds with a wash of black. I'm also going to paint the buttons black as well. I could have skipped the brown and used black straight away, but I tend to not use black as my shading color in general. I prefer using it as a wash. It is less harsh and it doesn't desaturate the color as much. Since his shirt and pants are pretty much black, I'm going to apply a thin coat of black over them to mattify the texture. And I'm also going to dust a bit of black onto the shoes to make them look a bit more worn out. Onto the metallic parts. The silver they used is pretty good, but I want these parts to look even more metallic. There's this trick I learned from one of the comments a long time ago. Paint the surface with black first, then apply silver over it. This will create a more realistic metallic look in the end. You know, sometimes silver paint can look very hollow. The underlayer of black adds more weight to the look, making the silver look more solid. So I'm gonna do that. Paint over the belt and the tentacles with the black first before I go over them with the silver. I also want the black paint to seep into the crevices as well, to bring out the details even more. I want Doc Ock's arm to look like they were made in 2004. To give them a rusted, not rusted, more like a tarnished metal look. Alright, it's time to add some shine back in with the silver. I'm gonna try and swipe in a way that will only hit the high points of the tentacles. The idea is to not make the entire thing silver. I don't want the arms to look brand new. Another reason why I'm going for an ununiform look is so that if I do happen to rub the paint off, it won't be as noticeable. The same goes for the belt, or the harness. A bit of silver here and there to give it that metallic shine. Oh, before I forget, I want to make those red lights on his claws more glowy. The red they used isn't bad, but it's a bit dull. Let me try and brighten it up. The issue is that my red paint dries dark too, so I'm gonna have to build up the intensity slowly. Now to make them look like they're lit up, I'm gonna add a bit of highlights with an orange. I'm also gonna add a bit of it to the areas around the lights to make it look like the claws are being illuminated. I'm gonna try and fake the glow. Okay, last but not least, the yellow or gold details on the tentacles. According to the reference images, there's only one row of gold on each arm, but it's hard to figure out where to place these gold details, so I'm just gonna wing it and assume it's these ones here. I thought about adding the red nanotech details as well, but I ultimately decided not to. The main reason is because it's too tedious to do. But the other reason is because DeKenstruct was pretty much tied up the entire time he had the nanotech. He didn't have it in the second half of the movie, and since I'm gonna add DeKenstruct to my No Way Home final battle display, I'm gonna keep mine like this. Ooh, look at that! The gold looks nice. Let me do the rest and apply a thin layer of glossy varnish to add even more protection. The head sculpt is pretty good. The only thing I can nitpick on are his glasses. They look a bit wonky. Otherwise, I don't see any other issues with the head. So let me dust a bit of paint over the face to mattify it, and add a bit of red here and there. His face was pretty red in the movie if I recall correctly. As for the hair, let's make the top a bit more vibrant and the bottom a bit darker. Kinda like how it is here. And a bit of glossy varnish to give it that wet hair look. The head is finished. The changes are barely noticeable, but at least the face is matte now. Alright, here's Dr. Octopus. The figure kinda looks the same from afar. Maybe I'm getting rusty. It has been 3 weeks since I've done the live action figure. Or maybe the original figure was pretty good already. I didn't really need to change anything. It's mostly just mattifying his outfit and face and making the tentacles more metallic. And speaking of tentacles, I am pretty happy with how they turned out. They look clunky and solid. They really look like they're made out of metal. While they are stiff to bend, they are pretty fun to pose. But I'll admit I'm worried that the paint would rub off the more I bend them. But overall, I don't notice any major paint rub, so that's nice. The glossy varnish does help a bit. My favorite part has gotta be the red lights on the claws. It took layers of paint to build up the intensity, and a dab of glossy varnish to create that dome-like effect. But they do look like red glowy lights now. What do you think? Do you like what I've done? Let me know down below. Okay, let's end this for the photoshoot. Overall, the figure itself isn't super posable. The long coat is quite restrictive, but it's okay. DeKenstruct doesn't need to do that many dynamic moves when it got those tentacle arms. At first, I wasn't gonna bend them much, to minimize ruining the paint and also because the figure is quite challenging to balance. It is doable, it just needs a lot of patience. But I ended up really enjoying posing the arms a lot because they have so much personality to them. I will say a bit of paint did rub off, but nothing major. it kinda goes with that old tech look, so I won't be retouching them. Besides, I got these really awesome dynamic shots. Alright, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Give it a like and subscribe to see more content like this. Green Goblin is next. That one should be interesting. So until then, stay inspired and I'll see you next week. I can make it, so can you.